Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show.
Rated the #1 most listened to podcast on Pluto. So join us now as we discuss news, politics, current events, and so much more. So clear the airwaves and strap in as we
defend the Constitution, because freedom matters.
Broadcasting live from the Cottage Studio. Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show, and as always, I'm your host, Ho-Ho. So how y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do. Boy, howdy, has this been a busy week or what? I mean, holy crap, a lot of stuff going on in the news. Holy cow. You know, we got the title of the episode, Long Live the King, and we'll get into that here in a little bit, but first, y'all know how I like to start the show. I like to throw a little bit of satire into it. I like to throw a little humor, a little comedy. And this one, we're kind of getting back to that in a way. But unfortunately, and I wish I can say that this was a satire piece. I really do wish I can say that. But unfortunately, I kind of can't. This article from The Root, and we're just going to dive right into it. We really are. But this headline from The Root, white privilege cards lead high school students to stage walkout in frustration. Now, when I read this, you know, I was like, wow, people, can't you take a joke? I mean, you know, really. I mean, think about this. This is one of them things that this card is, yeah, it's sold on Amazon. It's also sold other places too, but it's actually sold by a couple black guys, the Hodge twins. Conservatives, absolutely. It's sold by them. It's made to be satire. It's made to be, you know, something that is meant to provoke a discussion, really. I mean, that's what its intent is. You know, it's to poke fun at racism. It's to poke fun at that kind of stuff. And that's really what the intention was. But after reading this headline, I was like, holy crap. I mean, like, is this actually true? Is this really what happened? And from the article, that's exactly what it sounds like. But let's get into this a little bit. When the students of Charles Page High School returned for the school year, they were greeted by a number of other students handing out white privilege cards in the hallway, according to Fox 23 News. The BIPOC students, who were fed up with the nonsense, hosted a walkout in protest of the racism. Now, that's whenever I was like, racism, did you guys do your homework? I mean, come on. But the report says that these cards sold on Amazon were seen nationally, but this is the first time that they were spotted locally in Oklahoma. The cards read what the cards read. One student, Fabian Gayton, said that he was handed a card and called a racial slur in the same moment. Previously, a picture of a black student circulated Snapchat offering a cash reward if caught. Now, that's where this took a turn absolutely for me. It's like, dude, I mean, that's not what the intention of these cards were, you know, and that's an ugly aspect of racism. Absolutely. Do I think that these people represent a large number of the student body? Absolutely not. Do I think that these students represent, and probably even some that were doing this, you know, passing out these cards weren't this extreme? aren't actually racist. They might have even been doing this with the best of intentions, to poke fun at something, to provoke a discussion, but that is definitely not the right way to do it. I actually want to get a butt ton of these cards. I truly do. I mean, I've even considered just making my own because, I mean, I've got an ID printer. I can technically do that. I don't have something that I can do the raised lettering on, but I can absolutely make some white privilege cards. I think that would be hilarious. I think it'd be funny. I truly do. But that definitely not right. What these students were doing as far as, whether that last paragraph that I had just read, that is not, definitely not okay. And I am sure that there are a lot of people out there on both sides of the aisle that would definitely agree that that's not acceptable behavior. Absolutely not. So now let's get into, I guess you could say, the main topic of the week. On Thursday, Queen Elizabeth II passed away, and I gotta tell you this story. It's story time. I gotta tell you this, because this for me was absolutely hilarious. But I got a phone call shortly after she passed away and the news was made public. Okay, I had gotten a call from somebody, not going to mention who, and this individual asked me, it was more or less is it too soon kind of a question. And my response was like, wow, that is hilarious. I'm like, it's like, now people kind of expect this kind of crap from me, but I don't know as if this is necessarily the right time to kind of put that dig in there. I don't really, it's a little too soon. You might want to kind of hold off a bit, and later on that, like, it was within the hour. I had made a post, attaching an article to it, made a post on, I think it was Facebook. And, what I said was nothing provocative, however I want to say that. It was nothing, disrespectful even, and it's actually decorum of the situation at hand. I put in there, the Queen is dead, long live the King. Simply put, that's all I put in there. Just the article of she passed away, long live the King. That was it. That's all I put in there. Now, I got to be honest with you. I've never been one of them people that is caught up in what is going on with the royal family. Never been caught up in all that, in all intents and purposes. And this isn't to diminish the Queen Elizabeth II or her impact on the world, because she was, by, all intents and purposes, she was a good queen. She was a good person. A lot of the stuff that she did, I have a deep respect for her, and I'm not going to diminish that in who she was in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, I'm not going to get all upset over her passing either. By all accounts, she was she led a full life. She died at the age of 96. I mean, come on, people. She sat on the throne since the age of 25, a 70-rule reign, which, is the longest monarch in history, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was the longest reigning monarch in history. Definitely in Great British history. But it's like, she was 96. I mean, I don't want to say it's expected, but it's understandable. It's like, come on, guys, I'm not going to get my panties in a bunch over this. Come on. And I had mentioned something about this on social media somewhere. I don't remember if this was Twitter. I don't remember if it was Facebook. I don't remember what. I don't remember what profile I was using when I said this, because, I just recently started a new profile on Twitter, Trump Runs His Mouth, which I think is absolutely hilarious. You guys can check over out on Twitter and find that. Yep, that is me. And of course, I've got the Ho Ho Show, and I've got, my personal on Facebook, but I don't know where I put this at, but it was something to the effect of responding to, am I the only one that really doesn't care about any of this crap? And I'm like, nope, I really don't care either. In fact, you look at King Chuck, which is what I refer to him as in this, in this response, this reply to this article. I was like, you look at how the man's posture has been and some of the stuff that he's done. I mean, he's sitting there kind of doing the same thing that I've been doing for several years, just kind of sitting there, twiddling my thumbs, just kind of waiting for the old lady to pass away. I mean, really, look at some of the pictures with him sitting there, especially whenever he's just sitting down looking all proper. I mean, he's just kind of like, he's got this vacant look on his face, and he's just kind of waiting for his turn, and he's been waiting for what? 50 years? Something like that. I mean, I don't know exactly how old the man is, but, he's been waiting for some time to sit on the throne, and it's like, holy crap, guys. It's just, I had to laugh about that. But again, I'm not one of them people that gets all up in arms, and I don't care about the royal family and what's going on there. I mean, it's like, it's one of them aspects that goes beyond first world problems. It's like, oh, they're out of my favorite coffee. What am I ever going to do? My life is ended. That's a first world problem. But I've never been somebody that got real caught up in the royal family, and I seen something that Dave Canyon posted, and it was kind of the same, along the same lines, that I just don't care, but at the same time, I did also see something that was that was a response to this, that was didn't we fight a war so we wouldn't have to care about these kind of things? And it's like, look, guys, come on, in a matter of speaking, yes, but at the same time, an absolute no. I mean, we didn't fight a war against Queen Elizabeth II. We fought a war against Great Britain and the current king at that time, but it was also against Parliament that was doing, for the most part, the things that were being done. The king at the time, what, King John maybe? I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. It's like I'm not looking at the information. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't know who the king was. It was over 200 freaking years ago. I don't know who the guy was. But that's who we fought a war over. It wasn't against Queen Elizabeth II. It was against that king. I mean, that's like looking at either President Trump or, President Biden, either which way, and saying that because of that president, and I don't agree with him, that, George Washington was complete crap. I mean, that's kind of saying the same thing, isn't it? A world leader from that long ago, and you're going to be mad at him for your not liking the current president or, former President Trump. It's kind of along the same lines. It makes no sense. It's not a valid argument. It's not a valid stance by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not to diminish, of course, her reign, what she was able to accomplish. And again, just whom she was as a person. Like I said, by all accounts, she was a good person. She really was, and she will be missed on the world stage. She was a prominent figure. She did a lot of good things. That's not to say that her record was completely spotless. I'm sure that, there are people out there that have seen some of the many movies that have been about Queen Elizabeth II. I am not one of them. I really don't care. I never have. I mean, granted, I got respect for the woman, but I don't care about watching a movie about her. I mean, I know a little bit. I know enough to kind of get myself into trouble, but that's not to say I really know anything about her reign. And what I also find entertaining is how there's so many people out there that are already passing judgment on King Charles. But it's like, let's face it, this is a guy whom was basically more or less born into royalty. He's kind of been groomed for the position more or less his entire life. We're not talking about, child number 2 or child number 3 or the youngest or, what have you. We're talking about the firstborn. We're talking about the guy whose birthright was to take over the throne at the Queen's passing. He's been groomed for this. Now, yeah, he's going to be making up his own mind on things. I'm sure he is. He's an individual. He's his own person. But at the same time, that there's going to be a lot of influence from his mother in a lot of the decision making that he's going to be making. That didn't make a lot of sense. But people are already passing judgment on him, King Charles, and what kind of a leader monarch he's going to be. I'm not. One, I don't care either way, because that's what we fought a war over, was to no longer be subject to the king or queen, to the monarchy, to Great Britain. I don't care. That's not to say that it's not going to affect, the world stage policies or anything of that nature, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't directly affect us. I don't care. My condolences to the family, and the best of luck to King Charles in his rule. I really hope he doesn't stick around for another 70 years and try to beat his mother with a 71-year reign or a 72-year reign. That would be kind of, how old would he be? How old is he now? I don't even know. I mean, Queen Elizabeth II, she got the throne at the age of 25. She's been ruling for a long time. I think King Charles is in his 70s, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not completely sure, but I think he's in his 70s. He definitely doesn't look like a young whippersnapper. He's not a young individual by any means, any stretch of the imagination. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And who is it? King? Who's the next in line? Does anybody know out there? Anybody know who's next in line after King Charles? Is it Henry or Harry? I don't remember. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think they're next, and they're a lot younger in age, if I remember correctly. If I have my knowledge straight as far as the royal family goes, which I'm just being honest, I don't know. I did good to know it was King Charles. All I knew with that one was it was an older guy. Somebody that was 20 some odd years younger than Queen Elizabeth II. That's all I knew. And I didn't even know it was Queen Elizabeth II until I basically seen an article that was like, oh, Queen Elizabeth II. I knew it was, Queen Elizabeth. Hello. I've been to Canada. She's on their money. The QEW, which is Queen Elizabeth Way. I knew that. I didn't know she was the second until they told me. It was like, oh, wow, hey, cool. That's nice. I didn't even know that King Charles III was the third until they said. It was like, oh, wow, isn't that awesome? Anyway, let's move on from this. This next article that we're going to be talking about comes from the Daily Caller. Now, look, guys, here's the thing. We're going to be talking about AOC, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And she's been in the news quite a bit recently about some of her remarks. And I've not been talking about her because, she's one of them people, she's been played. Not like that. But she gets talked about a lot because she's constantly doing stuff and saying stuff. And it's like, holy crap, And here's the thing, how far do I want to go into this? Let's not worry about it. But this article from the Daily Caller, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, it says she wasn't sure she wanted to marry her boyfriend because he's white. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Only in America can you be racist. Can you get away with saying these kind of blatantly racist things while calling other people racist and people agreeing with you that, oh yeah, these other people are racist? Only in America can you do this kind of blatant stuff. Now, yes, that article I talked about a while back, at the beginning of the show, okay, with the white privilege cards and the students, handing out these cards and calling other people racial slurs and, putting a bounty on somebody's head. Yeah, that's racist. That is completely wrong. But you know what? So is what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just got done saying. Now, look, here's the thing. And this is me being honest. This is me being, transparent. This is me thinking this through as an individual that does that, I think. Okay. I don't know how much of what she is saying is satire. I don't know how much of these things that she is saying, like with this, is, something she actually feels, or if this is something she is just putting out there for the camera. I don't know. But she's still saying it for recognition, to virtue signal, and that is by itself bad enough. But I don't know her heart in this. I really don't. And I'm just being honest, not giving her the benefit of the doubt. I really hope that this isn't her heart, but I don't know. This is an aspect of me giving her the benefit of the doubt as an individual, not as a politician. As a politician, this is ugly and she should be ashamed of herself. As an individual, I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt that this isn't her heart. But at the same time, I'm sure that we all can agree that we're kind of fed up with this woman, aren't we? Some of the stuff that she says is like, wow. There is no world that we live in right now that a Republican would get away with some of the things that she has said. Some of the sexist, some of the racial things that she has said. There is not a Republican out there that would get away with this kind of thing, at least, in mainstream media and in the court of public opinion, which, the mainstream media does their best to kind of run and control that stuff. In no world would this be acceptable. And in no world would this be acceptable for, with the racial type of stuff that she herself says that, that wouldn't be acceptable. No Republican would get away with this. And at the same time, there is no world that exists right now, the world that has been created by both the Democrat Party and the feminist movement, that a guy would get away with saying some of the crap that she's been saying too. As far as, oh, what, you don't like me because I'm a woman? Oh, what, you're criticizing me because you want to do me? I mean, that's some of the stuff that she has said. I'm not making this up. There's articles out there that point to it. It's like, are you kidding me? No. No. On the inside, she makes herself out to be an ugly individual. Yeah, she may be nice to look at. But looks ain't everything, honey. Looks ain't everything. I'm actually writing an article. And for those of you that don't know, I am on, Medium, medium.com, I think is what the website is called. It's actually a really nice platform out there. I'm looking up the name. Yeah, medium.com, medium.com. I have no idea what my stuff is on there as far as a clickable link to actually find me. But there has been time to time when I've put my articles in, my Flipboard magazines, because, you can do that. But I'm actually working on an article, talking about, the feminist movement, feminism, and what the attack really is about, making masculinity toxic, and that truly is what they're attacking. But there's a lot of information to talk about in that, and I'm really trying to find a way not to make the sucker huge. I've got to tone it down a bit. I've got to, rework it and do some editing and try to make it a little bit less big and easier to read, because like I said, there's a lot of information in here. And in a lot of ways, this kind of stuff disgusts me, because it's an aspect of women really don't want equality. I mean, think about this. The first time the feminist movement happened, the feminists were like, yeah, we changed our mind on this. Because they wanted all, the equal pay, the equal voice. They wanted that kind of stuff. But they didn't want to have to sacrifice anything to get it. They still wanted to be a princess. They still wanted to be, treated with high regard. They still wanted that. But they found out what this voice was going to be, the right to vote. They found out what that meant, and they were like, yeah, we'll pass. because the guys was like, okay, you want a right to vote. You want to, participate in this feminist movement. That's fine. We'll give it to you. On a fundamental level, we really don't like it, but not for the reasons you may think. But here's the thing. You want the right to vote? Well, that comes with responsibility. That means you're subject to the draft. That means you're subject to this, that, and the other. And they were like, ooh, we don't want these responsibilities. We just want to speak. We just want our voices to be heard. We want to be equal on that level, but we still want to be treated like a princess. We still want to be protected. We don't want to have to, deal with the crap that you men deal with. We don't want any of that. We just want to vote. And they were like, it's not that simple. You want the right to vote. That comes with responsibilities. Take it or leave it. And they were like, we'll leave it. That's an aspect of history, of truth, that at least the left and mainstream media and people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez don't want to talk about. They don't want anything to do with it. And while they're out there attacking, men, and we're moving on from that aspect, but while they're out there attacking Republicans, you have this kind of stuff going on with Jennifer Lawrence. I know she's been in the news a lot recently as well regarding her intolerance towards her family, more specifically her own dad. But this article from, I got two of them up here. I don't really care about that one. Let's just get rid of that. That was MRC Newsbusters. But this article from BuzzFeed.news. Headline: Jennifer Lawrence is being praised for admitting that she can't get over her Republican dad's political views after she revealed that they fell out during the 2016 election. Because more or less is what she's saying is, I just can't deal with this. We have different points of view. We have different sources of information. I know more than he does because she's in the swamp. I mean, think about this, guys. You talk about Hollywood, you talk about all of this kind of stuff, and it seems like all of these people, it's not a melting pot of America. It's not a melting pot of this, that, or the other ideas and beliefs. This is completely and utterly Democrat controlled. It's controlled by the left. If you're not a talking head for the left, then it's really, really hard to get gigs, to get a job, to get, discovered and to excel. If you're going to come out with your political leaning, then you have to do it so late in your career that you have developed a following that is big enough to make it beyond the criticism and the attacks that is going to come from the left, because they will do everything they can to silence you. Think about some of other people's careers. James Woods, excellent actor. Such things as The General's Daughter, great movie. I enjoyed that movie. He played a role and he did it phenomenally. Great actor, conservative. You don't see him a lot. Ted Nugent, conservative. He came out when he was already a star, known, and it was an aspect of he was untouchable by the left I don't know I don't know the timeline on this, but looking at his outspokenness now, they can't touch him. He's already a star. He's already developed. He's already a brand. He's already a name. You're not going to silence him because he can go out on his own and get all the money, raise all the money, earn all the money, what have you. He's not worried about their attacks. He has grown beyond that. He doesn't need their help to get discovered. And that's what it amounts to. You put your political view out there before you've been discovered, you're screwed, because they hold all the cards. And in the beginning, that's more or less how Jennifer Lawrence operated. She really wasn't outspoken about her political view. In fact, she was open to the point to where she said that, this is how she was raised. She was raised in a Republican household. She was raised in Kentucky or wherever the heck she was raised at. I don't remember. But she at least acknowledged that she was raised that way. Not that she was that way, but she was raised that way. And a lot of people kind of had the belief that, yeah, she was a Republican, but then they started whispering in her ear the this, that, and the other, and throwing the stuff out there that, hey, we're just trying to help people. And she stopped looking at the after effects of what happens in Democrat-controlled cities. She stopped looking at the reality behind, if we're going to give everybody money, we got to get it from somewhere. And in a lot of ways, these actors don't care because, they're making enough money that so what if they get taxed an extra whatever? They'll just make another movie. And she can do that. But one of the things that I find hilarious about this is here she's talking about her dad being a Republican, who he voted for in the 2016 election, and putting that kind of stuff out there. But it's like, aren't you the star of the Hunger Games series, those movies? It must be nice to live in the capital. Remember, people, socialism is good for the socialist, just not the people. And socialism works until you run out of other people's money. She was in a series of movies. The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay 1 and 2. Isn't that what it was about? You have a disagreement with the capital. You fight a revolution. You lose said revolution against the capital. And then you have to give up your children as tribute to fight in a game where, it's Highlander rules. There can be only one. And the prize is you no longer have to work and you're put on display year after year, and you have to somehow submit, or you got to submit to these games where your life is literally put on the line. Just like, honey, don't you see the irony in this? I mean, yeah, you're in the Capitol now. You fought the game and you won. It must be nice to live in the Capitol, but unfortunately you forgot where you came from. You forgot who you are. You forgot the truths that your parents tried to instill in you while you were young enough to receive the education. And now you have gone to Hollywood. You've become part of the machine, and you've allowed them to whisper into your ear, and you have allowed yourself to be manipulated, to be indoctrinated. It's amazing how you don't see the irony. It's amazing. There are simple truths out there. Water's wet, fire burns. These are things that you would think is fundamental. Kind of like gender. Good segue, wasn't it? I like that. Kind of like gender. This headline from LGBTQ Nation, trans student in Oklahoma, are suing the state over its transphobic bathroom bill. And I had to look at that. Now look, guys, okay, here's the thing, right? There is a difference between gender and sexuality, sexual preference, whatever. There is a difference. When you are talking gender, gender is biological. Gender is DNA. Gender is about your physical plumbing. You have an X and a Y, or an X and an X. That's what you have. those dictate your gender. Gender is biological. You are not assigned a gender at the time of your birth or even before when you are still in the womb. It is kind of discovered based off of the plumbing that you have. You plop out with a stem. Hey, guess what? You're a guy. You're a boy. It's not a question. You're not assigning somebody's gender. They is what they is. And what I hate about this movement is the aspect that my speech has to be silenced. My thoughts must be dictated, and I must somehow appease to these people and virtue signal and all this other kind of crap with the ridiculousness of what's going on. Look, I don't care what your sexuality is. You do you, boo-boo. I don't care. Don't bring that into my bedroom, and I'm not going to bring mine into yours. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be respectful. And okay, but I'm not going to call you by the pronoun of your choice, because physical features will determine and show what your gender is. Now, I mean, here's the thing. If you're in transitioning, if you're going to go, if you're going to go the distance and do the deed and do the surgery, then, okay, you gone that route, I'll at least call you by the gender that you want, maybe. But at the same time, it's kind of like, that whole, it's ma'am, that dude that clearly looked like a dude that was wearing some women's clothing, that was, ma'am, okay, sir, my apologies, crap, I did it again. It's like, dude, what in the world, okay? That's an aspect of, if you're mad at me because I misgender you, maybe you need to work on you and actually try to take a little bit more time and care into your presentation. Me misgendering you isn't about my rudeness. It's about your lack of ability to convince me that you are what you want to be. That's different. Have you changed your plumbing? Probably not. I've seen cross-dressers, because that's what we referred to them back in my day, that looked amazing. If I didn't know that there was something going on, I wouldn't have known that they were cross-dressers. I would have had no idea. And in the group that I was in, which was a church group, mind you, that one of the ladies that we were with, that I was with, she walked over to him, and it was like a group of three of them at the bar at the table. It was like, you guys look amazing. You really do look amazing. I don't know if she said you guys. I don't know how she gendered them or what have you, even if she did. But all she did was give them a compliment. You look amazing. And they did. They looked really good. They portrayed themselves very well. That is an instance where, again, if I didn't know, I wouldn't have known. Would I have misgendered them? No, because their representation was good and spot on. This person that was mad about calling me, I am ma'am, did a very bad job with their presentation. They didn't convince anybody. Who are you going to be mad at? You or the person who misgenders you? No, they didn't misgender you. They gendered you, very, very well. It was sir, hello. But here's what the argument is in this article. 3 students in Oklahoma are suing state and school officials over the latest bathroom bill denying transgender kids the same rights as their fellow cisgender classmates. Yes, you got to put a name like cisgender. Anyway, Andy Bridge, a 16-year-old, and 2 other students who filed the lawsuit anonymously are being represented by Lambda Legal. That was a throwback to nerds. Calm yourself. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and the ACLU of Oklahoma. In May, the Oklahoma State Senate passed a Senate bill, SB 615, in a 38-7 vote. The bill was quickly signed into law by Governor Kevin Stitt, Republican. The law forces Yes, the law forces all pre-kindergarten through 12th grade public schools and public charter schools in the state to restrict gender students' use of school restrooms and locker rooms to those consistent with the gender they were assigned at birth. Now, again, I have issues with that last sentence. They weren't assigned that gender at birth. It's not like the doctor went out and proclaimed, "You are a boy," and then they had the plumbing that demonstrated that. No, that wasn't the case. It's not like you're born genderless and you are assigned it at birth. No, no, no. Your biology determines what your plumbing is whenever you come out. It's not like it's assigned to you. You know, she wasn't. Maybe it's Maybelline. Was she born with it? Yeah, she was. She was born with it. She was born with the the XX chromosome. She was born with it. It isn't Maybelline. Let's take a sip of my coffee. Now, here's the thing. I completely agree with this bill. Yes, you should be using the bathroom of the gender that you are. If you've gone through the deed and do the duty, get your gender reassignment surgery done, I do not believe that any child under the age of 18, I'll even take that further and say that if you're under the age of 24, you really shouldn't be doing this. Okay, because your brain is still developing up into the age of 24. And some with, boys, I'll put myself in that category. Our brains kind of stop developing at 13 because something happens to us, 12, something happens to us and we have a hard time after that, But our brains are still developing up until the age of 24, somewhere in that time frame. Maybe it's a bad deal to let anybody do that up until that age, that maybe you should, go through counseling and go about it that way before you get gender re-identification surgery. And the reason is this isn't like, this isn't even like a tattoo, okay? You get it, you don't get one, whatever. It's not like a tattoo is completely 100% permanent. I mean, yes, it is, but at the same time, you can still get it removed if you so choose. Laser removal is a thing. You can do that. But once you make that decision to change your gender, to chop off the twig and berries, to have your uterus and your womb removed in order to go through the deed of getting the twig and berries added on, there's no going back from that. We are talking about allowing children, prepubescent, to go through this life-altering surgery whenever it may very well be a stage. I consider this child abuse. I really do. Because you are making a decision. You're filling your children's heads with garbledygook that they may grow out of when they get older. I mean, good grief. There was a time in my childhood I thought I was a triceratops. Thank God that didn't follow through. Thank God that, my parents didn't decide to put me through, species re-identification surgery. Holy crap. Could you imagine? It might have been kind of fun. But I'm just saying, to the students out there I feel sorry for the schools out there that felt it necessary to, abide by the stupidity of some of their students and the students' parents, more specifically the students' parents. I'm a furry. I'm a cat. Now I got to put litter boxes in the hallways or the bathrooms or whatever because, you can't use a toilet. You're a cat. Okay, here's my question. Why are they going to school? Because last time I checked, schools are for kids, not animals. And besides that, where do they go? The hospital? Or do they go to the vet? I mean, if they're a cat, shouldn't they go to the vet? But here's the thing, though. Reality doesn't trump your identity doesn't trump reality. Your identity doesn't dictate reality. That's my point. Your identity does not dictate reality. So no, you can't go to a vet because you're a person. You got to go to a hospital because a vet can't operate on people. You're still a people. Your identity doesn't trump reality. If you have the plumbing of one gender, that's the gender that you are. If you have the plumbing of another gender, then that's the gender that you are. And until you go through the reassignment, and even in some cases, I'm sorry, even until then, we've all heard these stories of people, of our young children in schools being raped by an individual who claimed to be a transgender. Were they transgender, or were they just using the dress as a means by which to go into the women's restroom? I'm sorry, the girls' restroom, and take advantage of a situation? This has happened. This has been our fear as Republicans, as conservatives, as people who have a mind and choose to use it. This has been our fear from the get-go. And we were told that we were crazy and fear-mongering from the get-go. I disagree with the student trying to go into the bathroom of the gender they identify as, because I don't care what you identify as. That doesn't change the gender that you are. I don't believe that they should be able to have these life-altering, forever surgeries whenever they are not even of the age of consent. These consent laws are there to protect children. They're not responsible enough to vote. They can't carry a gun. They can't buy cigarettes. They can't drink. They can't marry. They're not the age of consent. They are not the age of majority. And yet they are being used by the Democrats. Our children are being used. And we're supposed to just be okay with this? I don't see as if we can. I really don't. You be you, boo-boo. You love whomever it is in your heart to love. I don't care the gender. But just be mindful. Once you make that choice to chop off your twig and berries, there's no growing it back. We're not lizards. We're people. You chop off your finger, it doesn't grow back. Ask my uncle. We call him Uncle Stubby. He's missing part of his finger. I asked him whenever I was a young child, I'm like, hey, how did that happen? And my uncle, being the honest man that he is, told me with complete and utter, what's that S word? Sincerity, that he was picking his nose one day and the booger monster bit it off. And I was like, really? I have no recollection whether my finger was up my nose whenever I was being told that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it makes the story better, doesn't it? That my finger was up my nose. And for a year after the fact, I was scared to pick my nose because I was like, ooh, the booger monster's going to bite it off. I mean, can't pick my nose. And then it was like, okay, well, hey, wait. Because my uncle was missing, down to the first knuckle, or, down to that knuckle, the first knuckle. He was missing that on up, just the tip. That's all he got. That's all that he lost. And I was like, all right, well, if the booger monster can bite that off, well, crap. I still got to pick my nose. There's still gold up in them there hills. Like, okay, we'll just remove that as an option. It's no longer an option, but I got to do something, I mean, this isn't like throwing a Q-tip up your ear and whittling around in there until you're, until you scratch your brain a little bit, and then you pull the Q-tip out and hope there's no blood at the end of it. This isn't one of those kind of things. I mean, this is my nose. I got to be able to pick it. I don't have the dexterity and the patience or the skills to shove something up there and do the job that my finger's been doing all my life. So what do? I can't use this finger. That one's out, but I still got to do it. What's my options? Dude. Yeah. I can shove my little finger up there so hard, so quick, and I can choke the little guy out before he has a chance to bite my finger off. So that's what I did. I didn't kill the little guy, but I made him bleed. Sad thing is, that's a true story. Yeah. That's what my uncle told me had happened. Now, later on, he told me that he lost it, in a shop accident, as there's many people out there that have lost digits, that very same way. I was working on the saw attacked me. The saw bit me. It happens. You got to be careful. You got to be safe. That's how you learn to be safe. I'm a guy. That's how we learn to be safe. That's how he learned to be safe. He suffered the consequences of it. The finger doesn't grow back. Neither do the twig and berries. If you're a female and you decide that you are going to remove your womb because you are a guy, there's no coming back from that. There's no way to make that better. If you decide, later on down the line that you want to have kids, that you are a woman, you understand that you have an XX chromosome, there's no coming back from that. You can't unring that bell. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children is beyond me. That is child abuse. The Democrats and the parents of these children are using their children as propaganda pieces. And it really is disgusting. It really is. I don't care your sexuality. You do you, boo-boo. But gender is gender is gender. Gender is objective. Sexuality is subjective. There's a difference. Your sexuality, who you are attracted to, is subject to you. It's all based off of you, how you feel at the time or whatever. It's subjective. But gender is about chromosomes. It's about DNA. It's about plumbing. And that is objective, meaning it is what it is. What it is. You don't change it because you feel like you were born in the wrong body. Doesn't change the fact that your body is what your body is. Objective. Talked about this last week. 2 + 2 = 4. It's objective. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter the time of day. It doesn't matter how old you is. It is what it is. It's objective terminology versus subjective terminology, and we need to understand the difference, don't we? Don't we need to understand that there is a freaking difference instead of mutilating our children for political gain? That's disgusting. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we got some more stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Supreme Court. We're going to be talking about what's going on with President Trump. We're going to be talking about the lawsuit between Trump and Hillary Clinton, and we're even going to throw a little bit of Ted Cruz stuff in there. Some updates with the Mar-a-Lago raid, and that is what we are going to be talking about when we come back. So just a couple minutes. Where am I? Yeah, there we go. Just a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Do you love your occasional Mexican dish or your musical fruit? Are you tired of walking by family members and crop dusting them? Well, if this has ever happened to you, might I introduce you to Tampon's brand butt plugs. Tampon's brand butt plugs is that particular type of butt plug that allows you to walk in public in confidence knowing that you're not going to accidentally crop dust somebody. Tampon's brand butt plugs now with the plastic applicator.
Not just for women anymore.
Tampon's brand butt plugs. Welcome back. Yes, Tampon brand butt plugs, not just for women anymore. You can find them wherever feminine products are sold. Feel free. Now with that plastic applicator. Yes, there is something wrong with me, just so you know. There's definitely something wrong with me. So we've got quite a few things to cover in this last segment. But before we get into any of that, I would invite everybody to head on over to thehoshow.com, scroll on down to the bottom of the page. There is the subscribe button. You can subscribe to the newsletter. I put those out once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending on what is going on. But there is a benefit to doing this. I've been putting a lot of content out on locals and early releases and exclusive content that you're not going to see anywhere else before you see it over on local. So I would definitely invite people to head on over there. And there's also going to be stuff that happens, live streams that may happen, that will end up happening. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that this week or next week. And I know I've actually been saying that, for a while, but these like really long shows, I'm like, holy crap, I don't want to do that now, but there's some stuff that's been going on that I can't wait. I gotta do it, so definitely head on over to thehoshow.com. Consider subscribing to the newsletter. And like I said, there are benefits to doing this. There's some freebies and some giveaways that comes with being a subscriber to the newsletter. So head on over there, check that out. And definitely head on over to Locals. Consider becoming a member in order to see some of the early access and some of the exclusive content. You don't have to support the channel in order to be a member. There's, two different ways of doing that, but yeah, there you go. You don't necessarily have to do that. Now, some of the content, yes, you do have to subscribe in order to see some of that and participate in some of the stuff that may happen in the future with live streaming, exclusive live streaming, because there are some stuff that I'm going to be talking about very, very soon that, in all honesty, I can't talk about it anywhere else on some of these other social media platforms. I'm not even completely sure if I can talk about it on Locals. I might be pushing my luck by putting it over on Locals. I don't know. I would assume no, considering Locals is owned by the same people that own Rumble, and they pride themselves as being a free speech platform, but I don't know. I kind of thought the same thing about Vimeo, because in all honesty, I wanted to go to Vimeo with content. I really did. I liked how they operated, because this wasn't like a normal platform that used your content to make money for them, and they kind of leave you in the dust. And that's not to say that, you can't make money on some of these other platforms like Spreaker, like, really, that's a new one. Sorry, I got a squirrel moment. I'm seeing new coffee available over at Black Rifle Coffee Company. Dude, guys, I'm a fan of coffee. All right, I drink coffee quite often. I'm a fan. I like it. It's good stuff. I get my coffee from Black Rifle Coffee Company. I'm a fan of which is weird. I'm a fan of the dark roast. I like the dark roast. I like the strong coffee. I like coffee so strong that when you put your spoon in it, it stands up. You can't see through it, because you should not be able to see through coffee. Just saying. I'm a fan of Blackbeard's Delight. I'm a fan of Freedom Fuel, of Murdered Out. That's one of them that I drink. You know, dark roast coffee. I like dark roast coffee. And I see this new one, Scapegoat. Now I'm kind of curious. I want to see what the flavor profile is of a Scapegoat. See if it is a black roast or a dark roast coffee, a medium roast coffee, you know, what have you. I'm kind of curious about that. But moving on, you know, squirrel moment kind of got me, and I apologize about that. I don't even know where I was at. Oh, yeah. Locals. Head on over there. You know, become a member. You don't, you know, just follow the page. You don't have to pay anything to do that. However, I would recommend doing that because, you know, I'm going to be pushing the boundaries here coming up real soon, probably next week, as far as content that they accept on there. I don't see there being any kind of an issue. But like I was saying, no, I finally remembered. I got back on track. I wanted Vimeo to be that platform because unlike a free site that sells your stuff to make money, Vimeo is a subscription-based platform. You pay to have your content there, okay? That's kind of like, and them censoring your content because it violates their terms of service. You know, that's kind of like buying a home and owning a home and then putting the American flag out and then being told that that's offensive to some people, take it down. Wait a second. I'm not, you know, this is MySpace, okay? Not to be confused with the social media platform of MySpace, but this is mine. I bought this space in this town on this block. It's mine. I pay for it. You don't. You know, and you're going to censor free speech because it makes you uncomfortable. I have issues with that. I wanted Vimeo to be that platform, a my hosting platform for videos. You know, because that's the thing. You know, I send my stuff from Restream to several different platforms. There's not a one place that my videos get streamed to. It's on Facebook. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. There's not a one shop spot that it goes to. Vimeo is a paid platform, and they will propagate other places. It's kind of like, you know, Spreaker being my hosting platform for the podcast. It goes from Spreaker to all the other places that the podcast can be found. It's a collect all. It keeps everything in one spot to where I know where all the numbers are. I don't got to go to multiple platforms in order to see what the heck's going on. Vimeo could have been that, but nope, I don't like how they do business. I'm not subjecting myself to that. Moving on. This first headline we're going to be talking about is something that is... It's a huge difference between the different branches of government. This was the thing that separated this branch specifically from the other two branches of government, okay? The headline is, Roberts, disagreement is not a basis for criticizing Supreme Court's legitimacy. And he's absolutely right with this, because here's the thing, and the article continues, and he words this very well in this article. He does. He does a great job for wording this. Chief Justice John Roberts said that disagreement with the Supreme Court's decision is not a basis for criticizing the legitimacy of the court. On Friday, in his first public remarks since the court overturned Roe v. Wade, scrolling on down, the court has always decided controversial cases and decisions always have been subject to intense criticism, and that is entirely appropriate. Roberts said at a conference of judges and lawyers in Colorado Springs, per the Washington Post, Roberts went on to say that the court is not guided by the political branches or public opinion. Let me read that again. The court is not guided by the political branches or public opinion. Yes, all of our opinions are open to criticism, he said. In fact, our members do a great job criticizing some opinions from time to time. He added, but simply because people disagree with an opinion is not a basis for criticizing the legitimacy of the court. He was talking about the very controversial Roe v. Wade. Now, I have discussed this on previous episodes, so I'm not going to completely get into all this crap. But simply put, the thing that makes the Supreme Court different, makes it stand out, is the fact that it is not a public opinion, politically affiliated, I use that loosely, branch of government. It's not. Oh, my hand is being hidden by that. Oh yeah, well, duh. Okay. That was stupid. Another squirrel moment. Never mind. We're not even going to talk about what just happened. We're not going to talk about it at all. If you want to see what happened, head on over to any of the 3 platforms that's currently being streamed, and, well, you'd have to rewind it, so don't even worry about that. Just mind you that it's in there, hour, 7 minutes after whatever. But it operates outside the scope of politics, or at least that's what it was intended to be. Because, mind you, this is a branch that, unlike the other 2 branches, isn't democratic in nature. As in using the democratic process of election, popular vote, or what have you. Because, yes, we are a republic. We absolutely are a republic, but our leaders are voted in through the democratic process. We have an electoral college for the president because we are not a nation of people. We are a nation of nations. And that is why that through the electoral college, every single state is giving an equal yet population-based foothold, that the whims of California aren't just automatically placed on Rhode Island, and Rhode Island no longer has a say in what's going on. That's why the Electoral College is in place. We are not a nation of nations, at least in aspect of the Federation, the United States of America. We are a nation of nations. Because Illinois is a country. It's a nation. California is a country. It's a nation. Yes, they belong to the Federation of the United States of America, a lot like Spain, Portugal, France is all part of the EU. The EU is a union. United, union, it's the same thing, people. And just like the UK choosing to leave the European Union, an individual state like Texas has the option to leave the Union if they so choose. Because if they feel as though their voice is being silenced on the grand stage, why should they subject themselves to the whims of other states? Why should Texas, as a sovereign country by itself, subject themselves to the whims of California and not have a say in how their country operates? Why should Texas be forced to pay for the failed policies of a state like Texas or New York? Well, it doesn't make any sense. And when you take into consideration that it is a nation, it makes it pretty obvious. So what are we doing? I have no idea. But back to this article, unlike unlike Congress, as in, the House of Representatives and now the Senate, because they completely screwed that one up by allowing the Senate to be chosen by popular vote instead of being appointed by the state, effectively removing the voice of California in the federal government. That's what they did. That's why I'm completely against the Senate be elected by popular vote. It shouldn't be like that, because the state of California, the state of Texas, the state of Florida has all rights to be heard in the federal government, and that no longer takes place.
But the senators, they're elected by the people.
But we are a nation of nations. Doesn't the state government of California have a right to voice their opinion in how things are run on a national level? Of course they do, just like the people. That's why the Senate is 2 per state, 100 senators. That's why that's like that, because each state has an equal voice in the goings-ons of government. That's why it's done like that. Because Rhode Island, even though is a less populated state than California, in the Senate, they have equal footing, equal voice. It's like that for a reason, because think about this. If you were the state of Rhode Island, and your voice can just be silenced by any other state because of their size, would you vote to subject yourself to that, or would you say, no thanks, I don't want anything to do with this, I'm not going to have a voice, why should I join the union? If I'm going to join the union, I need equal footing, equality. Isn't that what we fight for all the time? But yet now they've made it in whatever amendment that they did. Whatever. You guys know this already. I've talked about this before. This is something that ticks me off. Anyway, you have the president that is nominated through the Democrat process, voting. You have House of Representatives and the Senate being voted. Supreme Court justices are appointed. They operate outside the boundaries of political opinion and party affiliation. That's how it was set up. That's how it was designed. It was designed like that for a reason, because here's the thing, okay? Now, I don't know what you think. Quite honestly, I don't care. I don't know what you have been taught. Quite honestly, I don't care. The simple truth is, when you are talking the executive branch, they are elected through the Democrat process, using an electoral college, giving every state equal footing, that votes the president. The president represents the nation as a whole on the world stage to settle the differences between the states, to ensure equality among the states. Overall, that's the role of the executive branch, the presidency, the federal government in general. That's the role. And when you are talking to Congress, well, you have the House of Representatives, where the number of representatives is based off of the population of said state. That is why California has more representatives in Congress than the state of Delaware, than the state of Rhode Island, because they are bigger states. It's like, one representative per 10,000 people. It's a representative-based, republic-based body, branch of government. The lower house. The Senate, oh yeah, their job is to write the laws. You have the Senate, 2 per state, because each state in the union is equal with an equal voice. Their job is to represent not the people, but the state. That's what their job were. That's why they are different. You know, that's why all bills regarding money, you know, all revenue bills, that's why they are supposed to start not in the Senate, because the Senate represents the state, but the people of the state. That's why it's supposed to start in the House of Representatives, because the representatives represent the people. The Senate, the upper house, represents the state. 2 per state. Every state is equal. House of Representatives is based off of the people, the people's voice in D.C. That's why it's set up like that. Because the Senate don't represent the people. The Senate represents the state. The House of Representatives represent the people. It's even in their name. And both of their jobs is to write the laws. The executive branch to make sure that those laws are faithfully executed. The legislative branch is to write those laws. And the job... So Congress, let me rewind a little bit. Executive branch, representing the whole of the nation on the world stage to make sure that the laws are faithfully executed. Congress, within the House of Representatives, they represent the people. Within the Senate, they are supposed to represent the states. Together, they write the laws, representing the individualness of each individual state or country. Executive branch, nation as a whole. In Congress, the people and the state individually. Okay. The legislative branch, their job is not to represent the nation as a whole, not to represent an individual country or the people therein. The job of the job of the judicial branch is to represent the Constitution. Executive branch, they represent the nation as a whole, the face of the nation on the world stage. And the legislative branch is to represent the people, the Senate, the states of the Union, the House of Representatives, the people within the states. But the judicial branch, their job is to represent the Constitution, to protect the Constitution, and therein to protect the people. But first and foremost, it's about the Constitution, not the executive branch, not the legislative branch, not even the people. Their job is to represent the Constitution. That's who these judges represent. That's who they fight for. That's who they make, or that's what they make their decisions based off of. Because their charter, their job, their marching orders, their standard operating procedure is to take the law that is written and weigh it against the Constitution. Does this law violate the Constitution? Well, what is the Constitution? What does it mean? How could we possibly understand what they meant by the words of the Constitution? Well, then you ask them. How do you ask them? They're all dead. Well, simply put, they wrote a diary. The Federalist Papers, you can read the Federalist Papers and find out the arguments of why they got to the conclusions that they got to and why they wrote the thing the way that they wrote it. Seems pretty obvious to me. The job of the judicial branch is to represent the Constitution. Executive branch represents the nation in its entirety. The legislative branch represents the states and the people therein. The judicial branch represents the Constitution to protect the Constitution. I'm right. Just believe me, I'm right. Read the Constitution. It's not a big book. It's a little pamphlet. Doesn't take very long. It's like 30 some odd pages. That's their job. Not the nation, not the states, not the people therein. The judicial branch represents the Constitution. That's why it is said of the judicial branch that they are a body of government that is beyond the whims of politics and the people and the parties. Because they don't represent either. Their marching orders is to represent the Constitution. Were they representing the Constitution whenever they heard Roe versus Wade and made a decision to involve themselves in what was going on, to allow, and this wasn't even about a law that was written. This is writing laws from the bench. They didn't have, they don't have the authority to do that, to write law. That, the judicial branch, it's a separate but equal thing. You got one that writes laws, ones that faithfully execute the laws, and ones that make sure that the Constitution is represented in those laws and in the representation and the execution of those laws. That's how it's separated, separate but equal. Why do we not understand this? Why have we allowed our education system to be perverted in such a way that we don't even teach truth anymore when we are teaching history, when we are teaching civics, when we're teaching law, when we're teaching anything? Why don't we know this anymore? I don't want that. So we're moving on. I really went in depth on that one. I didn't mean to really go with that much into depth, but it's something that I'm passionate about. It really is. It's something that seems so, it's as obvious as the nose on your face, but, it's somehow people just don't get it. And I don't understand that. Why don't we get it? I'm not that freaking old, okay? I'm not that old. I'm 43. Holy crap, I'm ancient. Granted, my body, took me eating Rice Krispies and hearing the snap, crackle, and pop going on, and it took that as a challenge, and it was challenge accepted. We'll make your body sound like that in a few years. I had no idea my body was going to do that. Yeah, I sound kind of old. Good grief. It wasn't last year, year before last. I couldn't even tell you when this was. It wasn't that terribly long ago. But I went through, to be a truck driver, you got to go through a DOT physical, and you have to meet certain physical, requirements in order to do it. Health requirements, physical capabilities, agility, what have you. You kind of get, in some small part, you kind of get run through the ringer, and one of the things was, it was do squats. You got to do 3 squats. Okay, fine. I did squat number 1, no problem. Squat number 2, no problem. And then on squat number 3, my body was like, snap, crackle, pop. And then the lady was like, you got to keep going because you got to do 3 squats without snap, crackle, and popping. And I'm like, oh, well, crap. I hope you got a while because we might be here a while because my body makes noises. My body makes pops. I'm glad I'm all right doing squats. That whole thing just rhymed, holy crap. I'm glad I'm all right doing that because we're going to be snap, crackle, and popping. And it went on for a bit. I did, like maybe 10, I guess. I could have gone further. But after a while, after like my 3rd or 4th pop, I was like, maybe I need some I don't know, WD-40 to kind of get this thing to where it doesn't pop anymore. I'm like, this is getting ridiculous, and I kept going until finally I got 3, but it was like, without my body making noises of protest, because that's kind of what it was. My body was making noises of protest, but I didn't know that eating Snap, Crackle, Pop eating Rice Krispies as a child was going to accepted my body. I didn't know that. If I knew that, I wouldn't have eaten Snap, Crackle, Pop. Why do I keep doing that? I wouldn't have eaten Rice Krispies as a child. Anyway, let's continue. This article from Axios. Judge throws out Trump's lawsuit against Hillary Clinton. I'm sure y'all have heard about that, with the lawsuit that, against Hillary Clinton based off of all the crap that happened with the whole thing about the stuff and the thing and the dossier and the Russia collusion. There was a lawsuit. And here's the thing. Okay. Here's the thing. This is what is ridiculous to me. Because Hillary Clinton paid for this dossier. It was fabricated. It was a completely made up mess. But it was the foundation for the FISA warrants, the wiretaps, the investigations that were done not only on President, and even at that time, not yet President Donald J. Trump, but also his staff, the campaign people, and, even his staff, because it continued into his presidency. They attacked him from day one because, he didn't play the game. He wasn't a politician. It was supposed to be in 2016. It was supposed to be Hillary Clinton, a party affiliated, moving up through the ranks, Democrat of the DNC. It was her turn. Part of a Washington, D.C. dynasty of the Clintons. And it was supposed to be against Jeb Bush, a party affiliated member of the Republican Party in the RNC, another, albeit more people have served, of the Bushes, but that's who it was supposed to be. And both sides were okay with that. Why? Because they were party-affiliated people. They've moved up through the ranks. They were part of dynasties of the political parties, and it didn't really matter which one of them won, because they would deal with each other. They would work with each other. It didn't really matter which one of them actually got elected because, well, both had paid their dues. They were, of different sides of the aisle, but they're still in the same house, okay? A house divided will fall. We've all heard that. And these people of the DNC and the RNC, they work together to make sure the house doesn't fall. It's cooperative. It's cooperative. It might not be full-on linked, but it is cooperative. They work together. And then in walks Donald J. Trump down the escalator. Actually, not really walked in. He glided down the escalator, disrupting everything that the RNC and the DNC had worked in with their two chosen people, the chosen ones. They were the chosen ones. Trump, he disrupted that. He upset the oligarchs. He upset the "it's my turn." He upset it. He didn't represent any political party. He didn't use their money to campaign or to pay for his campaign and his presidency. Hell, he didn't even take a presidential salary. He did it to serve the people. And that's why from day one, he's been on the offensive. He's been getting attacked left and right. And it's like, dude, it's not a secret that Hillary Clinton paid for the dossier that started the ball rolling on all of this crap. We all know what's going on. I don't have to reiterate back episodes that I've already done, and I don't need to tell you all what you already know. We already know this. How? And this is my question. How can a judge simply throw this out and say that it's laughable? This headline from the Washington Examiner. You're going to love this one. Implausible. Judge rips Trump in scathing dismissal of Hillary Clinton Russiagate lawsuit. It's implausible. You know, kind of like the movie The Princess Bride. I don't think that word means what he thinks it means. Inconceivable. I don't think it means what he thinks it means. It's definitely plausible. It's not a question. This isn't a question. How can you throw this out? How can you throw this out that it was implausible? To use that word, implausible. How? Really? I mean, guys, it's not a question what happened. It's not a question who was behind it. It's not a question that she paid for it. It's not a question that it was a false. The whole thing was fake. It's not a question anymore. I mean, granted, there's a lot of people out there that are too stupid to understand that. The only thing that they know is Russiagate. That's all that they know. They think that Trump is just guilty of everything that he's been accused of, and that it's okay to violate the Constitution, to violate the rule of law, to throw everything out the door because Orange Man bad, we got to get rid of him. The ends justify the means. It doesn't matter that we throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's what we got to do to get rid of him. Are you kidding me? Because here's the thing, guys. The pendulum will swing the other direction. Take my word for it. And if this is the world that you are designing, do not be surprised when it does. Because when that pendulum swings the other direction, then you are going to be held by the same standard that you have held former President Trump, his people, the campaign, other dignitaries and leaders like Obama, Biden, Hunter, Hillary Clinton, just to name a few. If you think we're going to forget everything that you have put President Trump through, us, the weaponizing of the IRS against the people, the FBI against a political adversary. I mean, guys, we are seeing things happening today that we never thought would happen, that we have always said that this ain't going to happen in the United States. We have political prisoners right now because they dared to question 2020. I got to be careful. We have political prisoners. President Trump may be going on trial because they are terrified that he is going to get elected into office in 2024 and undo everything that Joe Biden has done. They just did an unveiling ceremony of the painting of Obama and Michelle at the White House, where former President Barack Hussein Obama was just singing the praises of Joe Biden. I couldn't have done it better myself. You truly have taken over the reins and healed the country from the chaos that happened from the from the Trump administration. I could not be more proud of this administration. Former President Barack Obama stated that his mission was to fundamentally change the nation. He didn't quite make it as far as he wanted to. And yeah, former President Trump threw a wrench in that, but not a big enough of a wrench. He wasn't able to dismantle the deep state. He wasn't able to push back on everything and truly affect real change, of taking us back to the roots of what our nation was founded upon, to undo some of the communist, socialist, fascist things that have been going on, that have been implemented over the past 50, 100 years. I don't even know. I know the Department of Education was back from 1978. I don't know when some of these other were instituted. I have no idea. But it's socialist in nature. It's fascism on its face. It's communism under principle. I mean, they are literally talking about doing things that is right in the communist playbook. I mean, it's part of the Communist Manifesto. It is, of the 10 pillars of communism, it's right there. How do we not see it? How can we be so blind? One of the things that I'm going to be talking about real soon, I'm not going to do this today, but in the near future, we're going to be talking about this, okay? We're going to be talking about what was going on prior to World War II, and we're going to be tying it together to now. Because if you think that you are safe as a Republican, as a conservative, as somebody who is common sense, think again. Educate yourself. Let me tell you, you need to pick up a history book and understand what is going on. Okay, I have already, in knowing the Constitution, a completely unfinished series that I am working on, with the transgressions, know that every single thing that we put in the Declaration of Independence, transgressions that the King of Great Britain had done to us, the colonies, over 200 years ago, our federal government is doing to us now. How can we be so blind? And that so many things that was going on in Europe prior to World War II is going on now. How can we be so blind? How? It boggles the mind. It truly does. It boggles the mind. If you can control education, you control a people. And that is exactly what the Democrat Party has been doing since 1978. Infiltrating. And we've been caught up. Conservatives, the American people in general, we've been caught up in our own lives. And we trusted that the Department of Education, the government, really did mean that they wanted to educate our children. And we found out all too late that they didn't. That they don't truly care about education. Their true agenda was in indoctrination. We found out all too late. How can we be so blind? From U.S. News, this article, the intel review of documents at Trump's estate. Now, here's the thing, and I was listening to, this isn't me All right. I am not the one who put two and two together on this one. But this headline is actually from, or this article, I should say, is actually from today. Really? That's okay, whatever. But this is something that I heard from, I'm wanting to say that it was, it had to have been Andrew Wilkow, the Wilkow Majority, the Patriot Channel 125 Sirius XM. I definitely recommend, if you have a subscription to Sirius XM, give that channel a shot. If you're a conservative, you will not be disappointed. I kid you not. The entire lineup from Alex Marlowe in the morning, moving on to David Webb, and then Andrew Wilkow, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Stacey Washington. An amazing lineup, 3-hour shows each. Holy crap. And the information that you will glean from them is important. I can't recommend that channel enough. But they were... The heck was that? I heard something. I don't know if you heard that. But anyway, one of the things that Andrew Wilkow pointed out on his show, and I think this was Friday, actually, that there's a difference between, sensitive material and classified material. And just because it's classified doesn't mean that it's sensitive. That some of these things that are deemed sensitive, I mean, you can go on the public arena and you can, get a news article based off of, this country's. And hello, Brian, over there in YouTube land. It says, hey, dude, sorry I'm late. Hey, not a problem. Not a problem. I was supposed to be doing this yesterday. I very much blew right past the 7 o'clock hour. And I was like, oh, well, there's always tomorrow. I mean, I just blew right past it. So, yeah, I mean, this was, it was supposed to happen yesterday. It just didn't end up happening. But anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. That he was talking on his program that it's, there's a difference between all of this stuff. Okay. And that, yes, the president does have the authority to, declassify anything he wants to. And you can go online and you can look up nuclear capabilities of Israel. And he did that on his program. And it was like, you can see all of this stuff. So, I mean, is it really top secret if you can, Israel's nuclear capabilities and what they have, is it really top secret if you can go right on the interwebs and look it up? And they may actually classify, that article that was given to the president in some type of a briefing, but it doesn't mean that classified document, because it contains nuclear secrets of, and I use that term loosely, of Israel, that's not sensitive information. That there's a lot of nuances in here that we don't know. I mean, yeah, you spend 2 minutes and you think about it and you might kind of understand it and see it, but that's not the same thing. So just because he had some of these things, and they were talking about news articles that they got. So, I mean, it really does look like that's, at least in some small part, probably a big part, that's what was going on here. That's some of the stuff that he had in his possession, was news articles of somebody else's nuclear capabilities or even ours. But that's not the same thing to say that it was sensitive information that would put American lives in danger. And how secret is it? If you can pull it off of any website, USA or the world, if you can pull it off of the interwebs, how secret is it if you can do that? It's obviously not secret if you can get that information right off the interwebs. So it really does sound like there was a lot of information like that. So who cares if he had nuclear information about our own nuclear capabilities? I can go on YouTube. I can go on, maybe YouTube. I can go on, Yahoo. I can go on Bing. I can go on DuckDuckGo. I can go on, Google, and I can search a lot of this stuff and find out some scary information, I'm sure. I have no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that it's sensitive. and it might be deemed classified, but that's only because of the subject matter, nuclear, having nothing to do with the content of said article. There's a difference, guys. Let's think about this here. And there's this article. No, that's not where I'm actually wanting to go. Yeah, this article, because here's the thing. Here's one of the aspects about this that I want to point out, that I want to make clear, that I want to throw in here. Okay. Did I just delete something I wasn't supposed to? I don't think so. Not delete, but close down. But anyway, it really sounds like what's going on in this. I mean, there is that possibility that Donald Trump will get indicted. I mean, they've gone this far. They're kind of forced to. They got to do something. You know what I mean? That's not to say that anything is actually going to come of it. And I don't know how I feel, about the reality, how far they're actually willing to go with the nothing burger in indicting former President Donald J. Trump, just because they are so desperate to make it to where he can't run in 2024. Because that's what all this amounts to. It's an act of desperation by the DNC. It really is. And the RNC is involved in it. How do you think they got some of the information that they've gotten? It is insiders of the Trump campaign, the Trump people that have allowed some of this to happen. People that really got their butt hurt because it wasn't Jeb Bush. Yeah. But this is an act of desperation because they're terrified he's going to run. And they see the temperature of the room and they know that if he runs, he's going to win. And that's why they're not only going after him, they're going after Trump supporters. This headline from 100%fedup.com. Breaking: FBI raids homes of 35 Trump supporters. This article was from September 9th of this year. This article from Red State. Bombshell report: dozens of Trump allies raided or served subpoenas by the FBI. And then there is this article from MSN, Newsmax, maybe whatever. Steve Bannon tells Charlie Kirk 35 MAGA allies got raided. Day of indictment, and he's talking about the day of his indictment. This was an act of desperation by the DNC, by the FBI. This was an act of desperation. Why? Because they were coming up with nothing. They know that they don't have anything to pin on him, and they are, this was a protect, a CMA kind of a thing. They did this to cover their own ass. They did this to try to make him look toxic, to keep him out of running, to try to throw a conviction, a felony charge on him, because the impeachment the first time didn't work. The impeachment the second time, when he was on his way out the door, didn't work. They know he's going to run again if they don't do anything, and they're forced to do something because he's running again. They have to make it to where if they can't convince him to not put his hat in the ring, to either don't step in the ring by making him look toxic, or convict him of a felony to make him ineligible. The same type of thing that would have happened had he been impeached and removed from office. Brian puts in here, he goes, all the Bushes can take a long walk off a short pear, in my opinion. I completely agree with you. The crooked, fraudulent Bureau of Investigation is at it again, and yes, they absolutely are. They're being mouthpieces. They are being the hand of big government. And this is the thing. I mean, they're doing all this, and all this information is coming out, and then they're being surprised whenever they no longer have, credibility. the FBI is wondering why they're not respected, why they don't have any more credibility, why you don't just believe us at our word. Well, you're a mouthpiece for the DNC. You're part of the deep state. Now again, and I made this clear on one of my other episodes that, there's a difference between the upper echelon, the decision makers over at the FBI, and the actual people whom, make up the body of the investigators that are there. There's a difference. And this isn't an indictment. This isn't an accusation against all of those people, although I'm sure that there are some crooked ones out there. But for the most part, I'm at least willing to accept the idea, the premise, that most of them are truly good people that really do take their job seriously and wouldn't want to violate that. Violate somebody's constitutional rights, use completely fabricated and made up accusations in order to investigate somebody politically, because that's what's been going on. There's a difference between the investigators and the brass. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a difference. The brass needs to be removed. Move up from the ranks people whom actually should be leading with integrity. A love for the Constitution. That's what we need to see. And until there's a change of the brass, until there's a change of the guard, ain't nobody going to respect the FBI. Nobody on the right, no Republican, no conservative, no libertarian out there is going to respect, listen to anything that the FBI has to say or any accusation against a Republican. You want our respect? Why don't you investigate Biden? Why don't you investigate Hunter? Why don't you actually start releasing some crap from the laptop? You want to be respected? Why don't you do something respectable? How about that? Why am I supposed to just sit back and respect a badge whenever y'all have gone through this stuff? And no, it ain't going to happen. You want my respect? Earn it. You're surprised that you don't have anybody? Come on, man. Yeah. But here's the thing. We're talking about, because this is on the mind. Yes, people are talking about the midterms. Yes, people are talking about the 2022 November, what's coming up in a very short amount of time. But this is all a precursor to 2024. That's why the FBI did what they did. That's why the DNC was pushing for this to happen. Okay, this all entails, this all is predicated with President Trump running in 2024, and he hasn't come out. I'm like, yes, he may have leaned this way or that way, but he hasn't made an official announcement. This article from CNN Politics, the point, Ted Cruz nails something fundamental about Donald Trump in 2024. What he basically says and what he basically lays out in this article is that, there are people out there that are wanting to run. Okay, you've got him who said that he's going to run. You have a lot of people that are looking at, what's his name? Greg Abbott even, and especially Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis? Yeah. Is it? Yeah. As far as him running, and, that may be something that, will happen. But the bottom line is, until President Trump makes a decision, then what anybody else says is doesn't really matter. Because their ability to get elected is kind of predicated upon the aspect of, is former President Trump going to run? Because he is the head of the Republican Party, at least in the people's eyes. He's head of the party. if he runs, there is a very distinct possibility that he is going to win. Because let's not forget, he ran. You had establishment Republicans running right along with him. That's what Jeb Bush represented, the establishment. And the people said, I don't care about my turn politics. I want somebody who's going to represent me. I'm tired of the party politics. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I want somebody in there that represents me. And that's who President Trump was. That's who he represented. He represented us. He stood in the gap. And he took the abuse for us. Brian puts in here, how about Hillary Clinton? You know, there's a possibility she might run too. You know, there's quite a few people right now that are rumored for running in 2024, but I don't really see any from anybody. You know, I mean, Ted Cruz, I mean, yes, he said that, yeah, I intend on running. You know, I'm going to run, yada, blah, blah. But it's still not necessarily an official announcement, nor has anybody launched their campaign. They may have done stuff here or there as a campaign type of a thing, campaigning for, you know, former President Trump is one of them. And I believe Ted Cruz actually is another who's done, you know, events as a run-up too. But I don't think you're going to hear any type of announcement until after. And this is really from both sides. Until after the midterms to find out where they are and how they need to mold the message to get the support that they need to win. But what Ted Cruz was pointing out was that until President Trump announces his intentions, either to run or not to run, anybody else, you know, they may say that they know what he's thinking. They're lying. Unless they're of the end, and I really don't see, you know, but even still, he may change his mind. That is funny. Brian puts in here, he goes, when a shower drains and the hair clogs up the drain, hanging on, going down, that's Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush. I'm sure you meant Jeb Bush. And yes, the song was, you know, that's Amore. I'm sure that's kind of where you were going with that. Yes, I heard that song playing in my head when I was reading that. That was absolutely hilarious. That's what I read. That was absolutely hilarious. But nobody knows what former President Trump is going to be doing. Nobody knows at this point if he is running or if he is not. And until he makes that announcement, anybody else, their ability to win, their ability to get that nominee doesn't really matter. It sounds like Senator Cruz is going to throw his hat in the ring and yet again go up against former President Trump in a primary. It sounds like he's going to do it. Brian says, I don't think he's going to announce until after the midterm elections because he doesn't want to take away from the other candidates. And I absolutely agree with you. You know, I don't think there's going to be any kind of announcement from either party until after the midterms. You know, they might even wait until, you know, the first of the year. I don't see them waiting that long. I think they're going to, you know, I think it'll be later in November, you know, more than likely. But yeah, I don't see any of them doing any type of formal announcement until after the midterms. For that reason, they don't want to take away from, you know, the other candidates, and they, you know, because a lot rides on this election in November. I mean, yes, this has been said before. Okay, this was definitely said whenever, you know, during president, well, Trump's, second half of his first term. And I also know that this was one of the things that was on a lot of people's minds, during Obama's presidency. But this is a very important midterm election, quite possibly the most important midterm election that we have seen, definitely in modern history. This is important because our republic is at stake. It's being attacked by the left. There's no other way to put it. It's being attacked. And the only hope that we have as a nation, as a republic, the Constitution, the only hope we have is that the midterms, the Republican takes back not just one or the other, but both the House of Representatives and the Senate. That's the only way we can do anything to save it. And even then, it's not in the bag, because even if we take back, hear me on this, even if we take back the Senate, even if we take back the House of Representatives, even if we take that back and gain a super majority in each, even if we do that, that's not a guarantee that anything is going to happen, that there will be not only a pause, but a rollback, or at least an attempt of a rollback with anything that the Democrats have been doing. That doesn't mean jack diddly squat, because far too many times we have had the Republican Party do these grand gestures of making a proclamation that I'm going to do something. And then when the time comes that they actually have the ability to put pen to paper, nothing actually happens, because they come up with one excuse after another. The saying is that the Republicans may hold office, but the Democrats hold power. That's been said time and time again. I might hate the politics of the Democrat Party, but I respect them. Whew. You got to respect them, because it doesn't matter if they hold a majority. It doesn't matter if they hold a very, very slim majority. That's what they have right now. What, a 5-vote majority in the House of Representatives and a 50-50 split, with Kamala Harris being the deciding vote on matters that go 50-50? Slim majority. And yet somehow they are still pushing their agenda. The Republicans say things like, oh, well, we don't want to rock the boat because we might not get reelected. What are you talking about? You got elected for the purpose of rocking the boat. Do your damn job. What the fuck? That's what we have. A do-nothing Republican Party. Brian puts in here, he goes, I don't think he's going to... I already read that. Sorry. We have a do-nothing Republican Party. I respect the Democrats, because no matter what, they are always trying to push their objective. They are defending, they are fighting for tooth and nail, claw and hook, every single which way they possibly can. They are fighting to move the ball down the field every single time. It doesn't matter if they're operating on offense or operating on defense. It doesn't matter which one it is. Their agenda is to gain. Go towards their goal, no matter what. If they ain't got the ball, their objective is to get it by any means necessary. And they're going to move that ball. Make no mistake about it. And it's about time the Republicans take a page out of their playbook and finally start doing the same thing, isn't it? Because of what we get after the midterm election, let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that we get every single thing that we want, as in an overwhelming majority, a super majority in both the House and the Senate. If we get that, and even if we just get a slim majority, but it's an aspect of you ain't got no excuses whatsoever because you need to move that ball down the field. You ain't got no excuses because if the Democrats can do it, if the Republicans fought the same way, then they would do it too. But the problem is we got too many rhino Republicans that don't care. That's what we got. If we give you, as in we, the people, if we give you that supermajority, and I don't even care if you got a supermajority or not, if we give it to you, if we give you the lead, if we give you reign, if we give you the majority in the House and the Senate, you better use it. I can't stress that enough. You better damn well use it. You better fight back on the politics. I'm not going to accept any excuse whatsoever because that's what they do. Oh, they get the House and we ain't got the Senate. Oh, pity party. So you give them the House, you give them the Senate. Oh, but we ain't got the presidency. Oh, cry about it. And then you give them the House, you give them the Senate, and then you give them the presidency, and then what do? Oh, we don't want to be that party. We don't want to rock the boat. We can't do that. That wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be prudent. We got to be the nice guys. That's what we get. That's what the Republicans, the people, that's what we get forced to deal with. If you don't get in the office and if you don't do something, there will be hell to pay. There will be hell to pay. You're the last chance we got at pushing back on a communist, fascist agenda. You're the last hope we got. If we give you this, you better damn well use it. I don't want to hear no whining. I don't want to hear no crying. The people deserve better. The Republican Party, the people that went out and voted for you, took the time out of our day and do that. We deserve better. We deserve you to get up there and freaking fight like there ain't no tomorrow because, quite frankly, there ain't. For this republic, there ain't no tomorrow unless you fight for it, unless you take it back, unless we win back the republic. There ain't no tomorrow. And I'm not accepting any excuses. I'm not accepting the whole, well, what do you expect us to do? Put a bill on the president's desk that he ain't going to sign and it's just going to get rejected anyway? Yes. Make him the bad guy. Put the budget on his desk. I don't care if he signs it or not. Put that put that ball in the side of the court of the Democrats and make them shut down the government because you're going to give them an agenda. You're going to, defund the this and defund the that. And that's what we better see. We better see stuff like that instead of these big, huge omnibus spending bills that has so much crap in it that it's going to take it 20, 30 years to go through and to feel the effects of everything. Oh, that's what we get. Yeah, put the bill on the table. Get us back on a trajectory of financial security. Put us back in a trajectory of taking care of our veterans. Shut down different things like the build the freaking wall. Sign the bill. Put that in the spending package and make the president make that choice. And I don't even want any of that bloated, pork belly crap thrown in there either. I'm not giving this place of the national arts any freaking money. They've gotten enough under the Democrats as it is. They don't need anything else. My money shouldn't be going to them. I'm not sending any money. You know, I feel for what's going on in Ukraine, but by golly, we got our own problems. We need to pay for us. You know, I had this argument with somebody online not that long ago, and it was just a couple things. I mean, I just put one remark in there. I'm not having a battle over somebody that, quite frankly, isn't mentally capable of having the argument with me any whatsoever, but I pointed out the obvious to him. You can't worry about your neighbor's mortgage if your power is going to be shut off. Our power is about to get shut off, man. We're doing good to service our debt. We ain't paying jack diddly squat on the principal. That looks bad. That is a matter of national security. We can't concern ourselves with what is going on elsewhere. We can't be a charity organization if we don't make enough to pay our bills. And we don't. Our water's about to get shut off. We're about ready to lose the freaking house. We can't keep the lights on anymore. We can't. Literally, over in California, the blackouts, brownouts. We want everybody to go to an electric car, but don't plug it in because heaven forbid, you know, our power grid can't handle it. We're at risk of losing the house. We can't worry ourselves about what's going on in other places of the world. I mean, yeah, it may sound bad. Yeah, we may want to do that because it's the right thing to do, but you can't do it if you can't take care of your own house. You can't do it. That's a fundamental principle that we need to wake up to. Is it not? That's what's at stake at this midterm election. Quite possibly the most important midterm election that this nation has ever seen. And the Republicans ain't going to take good enough. Anymore, we're done. We got too much to lose. The Republic being one of them. Because if we don't win back the last bastion of freedom the world has ever seen, we'll be dead. That's what's at stake. I believe it in my heart. That's what's at stake. We all know what today is. The 21st anniversary of the attack on America with the World Trade Centers. But this is also the 10-year anniversary of what happened at Benghazi. There wasn't that long ago that there was a post on Facebook, something, that it was talking about Hillary Clinton and, she was doing something, going somewhere, and she was asking for input that people, give me an idea of a movie to watch because, we're going to be, we're just going to spend some time, just Bill and I. It's going to be an amazing time. And we really want to, settle into a good movie. I'm taking suggestions. And the movie that was suggested to her was 13 Hours. This wasn't a suggestion that I made. This wasn't me. I'm not the one that responded to this, but whenever I seen that, I laughed out loud, literally lolled. Yes, I did, because that was freaking hilarious. I retweeted it. I re-chirped it. I threw that back out there, and it was hilarious. I think it was a Facebook thing, but I got a reply from somebody that kind of broke my heart. And the response was from somebody that was much younger than me. A friend of mine's daughter was like, I don't get it. I forget just how long ago these things took place. I forget that the world trades went down in 2001. I forget that Benghazi was 10 years ago. I forget that these attacks that fundamentally changed our nation back then happened so long ago that we have a lot of people today that just simply don't remember. And as a nation, we haven't. We don't remember. Because we are allowing these things to get in the way of freedom, of defending ourselves and being that beacon for freedom and taking care of ourselves and not putting ourselves in a place where we are dependent upon another country's charity. Because we are. When President Biden signed, those executive orders tearing down and ripping apart the land leases and just absolutely destroying an entire industry of the energy industry. When he chose to do that, he chose to make us dependent on foreign oil. That's what he did. He waged war against our very economy and our freedom, landing us into a trajectory that we see ourselves at right now. As Whoopi Goldberg's character in Ghost, "You's in danger, girl." We're in danger. National security. Why? Because we can't drill our own oil. We have to, or at least we can't depend on our own oil. We have to depend on other oil. We can't mine for our own rare earth material necessary in, the whole stuff that we need to be green. We can't even mine for, lithium. Instead, we are dependent upon child labor and horrible work crap from China, down in Africa, and all these other kind of places. And yet, there was a time not that long ago when we were energy independent. When we understood that, going green might be a really nice thing to do, but, we can't depend on a means of energy production that doesn't even supply 10% of our usage. Or maybe just over 10%, 11 or 12% maybe. We can't shut down 87, 88% of production when the things that we want to go to only supplies 11 or 12%. I've got the numbers. I've talked about them in other shows. Guys, there are people that just don't remember. And wasn't that what our pledge was to not only ourselves, but the younger generation? Never forget. Isn't that what we said? And we've allowed it to happen. We have our youth that don't remember, and for those of you that don't, those of you that are too young to remember, Hillary Clinton, her famous words when questioned about what happened in Benghazi 10 years ago today was, what difference at this point does it make? Yeah, I made the decision, but who cares? Yeah, I left them soldiers high and dry. Yes, I did that. I failed the ambassador in Benghazi. I didn't approve for more troops. I didn't take that seriously. Yes, I did that. His blood is on my hands, and the people that died, their blood is on my hands. But what difference is it going to make? You throwing a fit right now doesn't change anything. That's what her reaction was. And 13 Hours is a movie that was done under the guidance of some of the people that were there to remember what happened and to remind us at whose feet the blame goes. So when that post was made on Facebook or Twitter, wherever it was, we're settling in for the night. What movie should we watch? And when I seen the response of 13 Hours, I laughed. Because it was either laugh or grab your pitchforks. Because, yeah, never forget. I got a little bit more, but we are already 2 hours and 20 minutes into this thing, and holy crap, that's a long show. I thank you all for stopping by. I know that this isn't the best of time to be doing these shows. I mean, you know, I'm glad there's replays. You know, this was a good show. It really was. I enjoyed it. A lot of information to be had on this episode. A lot of passion got talked about on this episode. And I thank you all for stopping by. For those that will be listening to the replay, I thank you all. I really do. I thank you all. We's in danger. We need to wake up and notice and understand where we are at as a nation, not just as a party, but where we are at as a nation. We need to do this. Our very future as a nation depends on it. It is what it is. Y'all have yourself a great one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget. Till next time. This has been The Ho Ho Show. For more information, you can head to thehohoshow.com. And for the merchandise store, you can head on over to stinkpickle.com. That is stinkpickle.com. Until next time.